Redemption of our nation's revolutionary promise that all people are created equal. America stands in all the world as that beacon of hope, not only for our own people, but for the peoples of every nation, that we as human beings are capable. We have the inherent ability to transcend our limitations and rise to meet challenges that previous generations would have dismissed as hopeless and impossible. This is a moment in our history and in the history of the world when we must take a brand new course. We now have proof that this nation is much closer to what our founders dreamed it could be. Among the many great opportunities I had serving as vice president was the chance to represent our country at the inauguration of Nelson Mandela. And I personally was excited to be there, but I was nevertheless unprepared emotionally for the power of that moment when he took the oath of office as an African leading a country that had been oppressed by the evil system of apartheid. And when he took the oath of office, all of the generals and admirals in this mighty military complex that South Africa had created stood and saluted their new commander-in-chief, and the modern fighter jets of South Africa flew over the podium streaming the colors of their newly adopted flag. And the world changed. Not only South Africa, but the world changed. For me, the emotion of that moment was really overpowering. And perhaps it's obvious why I tell you that story. It is to prepare you for what I fully expect will be a cathartic, overwhelming wave of emotion that will spread across our country and the world tomorrow. It is a tribute to those who dreamed when founding America that we as human beings could be more than we had been in our past. We know we have that capacity. I want to talk to you about some of the extraordinary challenges that do lie before us. We have three crises facing us simultaneously. Number one, of course, we have an economic crisis that is not just the problem with borrowing money that businesses and homeowners and individuals have now. The so-called credit crisis is extremely serious. But there is also a recession here and gathering momentum around the world. A synchronized global recession. We've never had anything quite like it before. But the solutions to that synchronized global recession, that is, it's taking place in almost all countries simultaneously, is what the economists call a stimulus, and that's a boring word, but what it means is that normal rule books are kind of set aside, and the role of government in spending money to prime the pump and get the economy moving again, it is very enhanced by these circumstances. And I want to come back to that. But that's the first crisis. Second crisis is a national security crisis. As the President-elect has said repeatedly, we have two wars, one that has to be ended responsibly and honorably, and the other that has to be waged wisely. But think about the repeated involvements we've had in the area known as the Persian Gulf. There were many reasons why we made what I regard as a mistake in invading Iraq this time around. However, one of the reasons, surely, was the awareness of our leaders that we are still so dependent on foreign oil that we have to pay attention to any possibility that the supply lines for that lifeblood of our currently designed economy might be interrupted. So as we find a way to quickly and honorably end the military venture in Iraq and win the one in Afghanistan, we have to understand that becoming independent of dirty and expensive and vulnerable supplies of energy are at the heart of that national security crisis. So that's the second crisis. The third crisis is one that I speak about often, and I won't dwell on it at length here, but I feel so passionately about it that I must tell you why I think it is the linchpin for the mission of your generation and of our nation and world right now. And that is the climate crisis. We are now, today...
There you go. Save the polar bears. How'd you get?
We as a species...
I don't know.
Now, let me repeat that phrase because you won't hear it very often. It sounds impossibly grandiose to say we as a species. But that's what it has now come down to. We as the human race must make a collective decision about the way we live together on this planet.